Nothing will matter at some point in a long enough timeline.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the perspective I take on it, so that now I choose what matters.
That is my problem with society a bit too, because we're fast to cancel someone and to call them this and say they do this, where I swear if I could just live with you for a week, I guarantee.
So back to what I was saying.
What's up, friends, family, and fans? Welcome to Life On Podcast. This is where we listen and inspire friends.
In front of the fish tank. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fish tank doesn't start with the letter E. L, listen, I inspire friends. F and E.
I was trying to get
entertainment.
Trying to get the F there first, and everywhere,
because life happens to everyone. Yo, this is Stone Stafford here, riding with my ride or die,
Johnny Vaughn.
I know what it is. So you might see me fidgeting. We want to give y'all a different little background today, but
he wants to give you
a
background today. I like.
But I'm trying to get used to things.
He want to put me in this where I'm like slumped over, I'm trying to keep myself.
Yeah, just being comfortable, being
folding over like a panini.
Yo, what's up, man? Yo, welcome. Go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe.
Yes.
Tell a friend about it. We appreciate you guys helping us get to 1 million subscribers this year, 2023. All right, so question.
Ask away.
It's dumb for me to say have you, because you read everything. Bill Cosby.
Don't tell my wife that.
Have you heard that Bill Cosby's going on tour?
I have, which I was excited about.
Oh, wait. Really?
Yeah, I got excited to hear that.
Oh, I thought you'd be pissed about that.
No, me? No.
I really thought you'd be upset about that.
No, I'm not upset about the Bill Cosby situation. I don't think we ever
Wait, stop canceling him. I see y'all right now canceling him already.
It's okay.
One, he doesn't care.
I don't.
So two.
No. So, okay, I get it. I never will be a person that will support, promote, or get behind the actions that he was convicted of.
Right.
However, I was in the music industry for a little bit.
Right.
And if you came to my room, you knew what you was coming to my room for.
Oh, wow.
So, there were.
Should we keep that on?
Yeah, I mean,
on record.
there's certain aspects of not so much the time that had passed,
right,
but the playing victim after so long when you were in a precarious situation that you adultingly put yourself into.
Right.
I had an issue with.
Right.
But I'm not supporting the drugging of anyone ever, but there was some of that stuff that I had an issue with.
And let's unfortunately, I had a very close friend who revealed to me that she was a victim of that BS. Mm-hmm. And even though I've heard this before, I was like, why didn't you tell me? It broke me up. So, but she was just like, she was embarrassed. And she was like, I didn't want to talk about it. Not the whole feeling about if I don't talk about it, it'll go away, but it's whatever to put it behind me, type of. Sure. So I get those feelings for sure as to why some women won't come out.
Absolutely.
And I don't really have anything else to say about that, only because I haven't been in that position. So It is one of those things where I can't speak on something that I don't know.
Yeah.
And have any kind of feelings towards or empathy towards.
I say this.
Is it empathy? Yeah, empathy.
Yeah. Well, it'll be sympathy because you can't empathize.
I have sympathy for it, but I can't empathize with it.
Because you haven't been through it. Right. I always support speaking up when those things happen.
Sure. Sure.
I totally understand the wanting to get over it because of the traumatic experience. But in certain situations, and I hate to do the but thing, but that's what this is.
Right.
The money grabism optics of it.
And that's a fact. And those women, because don't get it twisted, those women are in the numbers. Mm-hmm. They mess it up for the legit women.
Absolutely. And that's why I had that's why I had a problem with it. Now, I also don't have an issue with him serving time for it. I was happy to hear that he was coming out and planning to go on to, and I think he might have actually done some test shows, or he might be working out already.
Really?
But if we're gonna be a culture of giving everybody grace, then you have to be you have to be a turn on a new leaf type of person in every situation.
Are we that kind of a culture?
Everybody want to pretend they are.
Well,
everybody wants. I want to give myself grace to grow. I was in a period of this and that.
Oh, give myself grace.
No, but that's the thing.
Yeah, when you give yourself grace, that's called grading on a curve.
Then you got to do it. You can't be selective with it. So I think
I agree with.
This is a fine opportunity for people to turn on a leaf, to show how forgiving you can be. I'm not saying
forgive and forget thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying support or promote the behavior that was convicted, but to be able to forgive and get past it.
And that's the thing about forgiveness. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to forgive. And look, what I'm going to say, everyone's heard it a million times. But obviously just hearing it doesn't matter. But, forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's for you. You know what I mean? It's for you to heal, to move on, to put closure and move on. Now, the whole forgive and forget thing, like I just said earlier, obviously you're not going to forget. You know what I mean? But I think what they mean by forget is don't let it now dictate what you do moving forward. Right. Aside from maybe being cautious or something like that.
Sure.
But forgiveness is definitely not for the other person.
See, I disagree. But
oh, you disagree?
Because I can't really relate to the it being for me thing. Because as you stated at the beginning of this, I don't care. So,
because so you just can't empathize. It's not you disagree. You just can't empathize with what I'm saying.
It's not so much that. Well, yeah, it's that because of my disposition when things happen, I may be remorseful for something,
right?
But it's not weighing. If I did it and I know I was wrong and I apologize, that's it. That's not for me. That's to let you know that I am remorseful for it.
But that's you being the perpetrator.
I'm doing it from that perspective.
Okay.
You can do it from every perspective if you want to.
How do you forgive as the perpetrator?
Well, no. I'm saying that if you apologize for doing something and a person forgives you, that's not so much. You have to forgive me to clear my conscience. Generally, is how it works with most people. That's why I say it's a bad thing for me because I don't care.
Right. Okay.
So in most scenarios, when a person is looking for that person needs to be vindicated.
So when you say forgiveness is for you, like the person doing the forgiving, it doesn't mean that the other person being forgiven doesn't benefit.
Okay.
So it's not automatically saying that.
Okay.
But
that's how I took it.
Yeah. So it doesn't automatically mean that.
All right.
But the reason why it's for the forgiver, and now this because you know about science and biology and stuff like that, when you hold those types of things in, that anger, which is essentially stress, and then once you have stress, now you're looking at your cortisol levels going up. At this point, literally, it's affecting your health, but it also affects your mental health as well. You can't move past a certain thing. So now you're in this bondage, this psychological bondage. Okay. So you want to release yourself from all that kind of stuff, and that's what forgiveness does.
I had a period of my life where I struggled with that.
Who doesn't?
This version of Johnny doesn't. It ain't nothing to cut up. Oh, no, let me stop. I don't have a problem in those because I made a comment about that with my lack of being able to use my favorite word as of late. Because I've removed myself from a lot of situations, and a lot of that had to do with in situations where people you would say they need to. Like I would need to forgive them for something. Nah, we don't need to do that. I just now do it.
No, and some people, I'm a water on the duck's back guy as well.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like I can let things roll off, and it's just not bothering me. And that's a personality thing. I think
100%.
Yeah,
because like I said, I used to hang on to stuff. I was a very angry young person.
I was a
very angry young person. And I'm just kidding. Well, no, I mean a lot of people can. It's kind of where I think that's the natural evolution of it. You go from being angry to being what you would call indifferent in a sense.
Okay.
Because my anger was destructive. And if I didn't figure out a way to handle that, you don't always learn how to deal with it. You just learn how not to get angry.
Destructive to you or to other people? To other people?
It could be a combination of both.
Jimmy Hoffa stuff going on right now?
I'm not saying
what are we talking about here?
Statute of limitations look like right now. What I'm saying is I got to a point to where I don't. Again, I choose what I care about. So I don't need to forgive in a scenario because I could just not pay attention to it and don't care no more.
Right.
That way it doesn't affect me one way or another because eventually it's not going to matter anyway. And that's how I approach stuff.
To you?
To anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like nothing will matter at some point in a long enough timeline.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the perspective I take on it so that now I choose what matters as opposed to me needing to forgive you to release some tension to myself. It doesn't matter.
So you take the macro view of things.
Absolutely.
Or the God view. He's like,
sure.
yeah, we'll call it macro view.
Yeah, I like God view. God view's good.
That's a little stroke of the ego right there.
Yeah, God view's good.
No, but seriously, so I mean, going back to your point before when you were like, I think Chris Rock's title, I think it's probably the third time I've said this, The title of his special was perfect. Selective Outrage. I mean, because that is my problem with society a bit too, because we're fast to cancel someone and to call them this and say they do this. Where I swear, if I could just live with you for a week, I guarantee. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't. If someone does something bad or evil, or whatever, or illegal, it doesn't excuse that. But the self-righteousness with which we condemn someone is what's whack.
And it's so selective too. I find it interesting that we're in a time now where we don't want to provide forgiveness, but we also want to shout that we're the ones that are being, done wrong so much. When in order to get past being that victim, you would have to do what you're saying, is to release that and get past it.
Right.
So in a sense, we're hanging on to that catch-22 that forces the cycle to perpetuate itself. We're not going to forgive you, but we're going to keep playing victim for what you did so that I cannot forgive you, so that you can, and it doesn't stop.
Right.
And that's with everything. And I think that's actually what's driving a lot of the emotional response to how people react to every storyline, every you mentioned Bill Cosby at the beginning of it. Stuff like that happens. That's what's driving it, because we need something to be upset about. We need something to be victimized about, because it allows us to have the attention twice. I'm having the attention because I'm shouting for it. Absolutely. Which is why I don't like to participate. Right. I have the attention so that I can be the victim, but I also have the attention because I'm pointing out that you victimized me.
Okay.
And that's why I don't like to participate, which is why I don't get into the whole forgiving and all that stuff. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, see, in the big whack part specifically about dealing with the Bill Cosby scenario, one of the parts that kind of got on my nerves where society is concerned is that, Bill Cosby was really good friends with the Rat Pack, if not a honorary member of the Rat Pack.
Sure.
Every one of them dudes did that. You know what I'm saying? So, and this isn't me, this is someone came out in an interview who was just in it, part of it, all of it, around it. And they were just like, oh, that's what they did. And so I find it interesting that we wait till all the non-colorful ones pass off before all of a sudden we're going to come out and now attack one of them for doing it. So again, that injustice gets on my nerves. And then literally we had someone who became the leader of our country, leader of the free world, running around. Yeah, it might have been old. I get it. It was old, but still he had the mentality of grabbing girls in the coochie. You know what I mean? And look, we're not dumb. Look, we know what Trump does as a dude or did as a dude. He just, take a rocket science, in scientists. And he had complaints even while he was in office and stuff. So all of that we're willing to give a pass to. But then we're going to bring the hammer down on Cosby as if, and it's not that the hammer shouldn't have come down, not that law or justice shouldn't have prevailed, but we do it as if.
Be even with it.
Yeah, it's like something new or he's an exception. And that's that BS that I don't like.
That's what I was actually going to get to, is that I have a hard time entertaining or even engaging with those conversations, because it's bad if this person does it. I don't see it. It's not even that it's good that this person does it.
Right.
I don't see it when they do it. I'm going to ignore it until it's this. And that selectivism is something that bothers me a lot, which is how we function societally. We know the kind of things that happens in entertainment in general. People use Quaaludes for fun. For fun, not even, they don't just date rape people to get. Sometimes people want that to happen. I know people who enjoy that kind of deal.
Wait, what?
The drugs themselves, they will take them, and I actually know someone that within
on the receiving end they want.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think it's just shocked me, first of all, just because I know if there's any females, they're about to be outraged at Johnny for saying that. But then when we look at the society, how twisted our society is,
I'm gonna tell you,
I honestly would not put it past it. I wouldn't put it past it.
I don't participate in some of the wilder things, But I have brought some ideas to my marriage, to my wife. Say, hey, babe, let's try this. And my wife was like, what are you talking about?
I can hear them now, but that's different. It's consent. I get it. That's what they're going to say. But what you're saying is it's consenting. People like that, and they kind of want to get high to go through that.
There is anything you can imagine, multiply it by 10, and it can be that much worse, and it exists.
And it exists.
So,
and it exists.
What upsets me about it is that we know this. We may choose to ignore it and pretend like it's not a part of society when it's not in our everyday life. There is a subculture of people that enjoys the thing that we will crucify somebody publicly for partaking in.
Yeah.
And because of that, I have a hard time engaging and entertaining those types of conversations, because if you get deep enough into the convo, you can get to a point to where a person who's upset about it happening knows someone who does it. Has been a part of it, but their public persona is I'm gonna demonize it, and that's where I take issue.
Right. No, and I mean, again, it's the whole two-faced thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole two-faced thing. Here's the other part about it too, and I'm gonna just get on this and I'm gonna leave it. Christians, so-called Christ followers, right? And honestly, as I've grown because I went through a period where I found I was judgmental. We talked about that in the typical classes of people that I was judgmental with, and I'm growing through that, and I'm doing so much better.
You are
so much better.
I pat you on the back for it.
But when I really saw that I was doing bad and I was judging people or didn't want to forgive someone for something, we throw that whole thing of what would Jesus do around, and I think the moment the little girl put on her bracelet, she had the right intent. It just went commercial and lost its meaning. But if and again, I'm talking to those who follow Christ, if he judged you the way you judge others, you're screwed. And that's the best way I can say it. So it's kind of like, okay, it's all you. On one hand, you want this person to give you all the grace in the world. And then that same person said, well, the same way you want me to treat other people, but then somehow that rule doesn't apply to you. That's where we lose it.
Yeah.
That's the whole double-faced part that I don't like and I can't stand.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
You know what I'm saying?
So to those people who can't function like me, who can't detach themselves.
Right.
Then absolutely learn how to be forgiving. And not necessarily forget, but forgiving, and what would the other part be then?
Let go.
Okay.
Let go. So we had a tenant here.
So, but that's all I do in the beginning. I just let it go at the beginning. You
let it go. You ain't got to worry about forgiving nothing. You just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Look at that.
Skip that step.
Truth in the cartoons again. But we had a former tenant here who, when COVID hit, kind of used that as an excuse as to not paying, part of rent or whatever, or took it upon himself to prorate it, even though there was nothing in the paperwork that said that, nor did we agree. And we had in writing where we listed, okay, this is when it, resumes. When do you want to start? Never got anything back. And then when it came to where you want to get back in the building, you wouldn't let them back in the building. I said, no, you got to pay this. Long story short, ends up suing us for like $1 million. And I mean, if there was ever a time not to forgive someone, I mean, because it just caused a lot of headache and a lot of stress and a lot of problems.
That's how you know you made it, though. When them numbers get that big on the lawsuits, there's something to what you're doing.
Because at that point, it was like this was our first lawsuit and it was huge.
Yeah.
And we did nothing wrong.
Right.
And it cost us some money. Thank God for all you business owners out there. Make sure you have the type of policy that covers legal representation in case you get sued. What's so funny is we actually didn't know our insurance policy had that coverage, but we were thanking God when we found out, and it was a powerful law firm too. Right. So needless to say, it ended up settling, which is another thing to make us hold that ought and resentment, because why should we settle when we didn't do anything wrong, But
at a certain stage of life, though, lawsuits just become a part of the game, and
it was just to make it go away. Yeah. But Tasha and I made the intention. We said we will not hold this again. I said we will forgive. I said if I see that dude on the street, I may not initiate the hello, but if he says hello, I'm gonna give him the hello with the same energy, if not more. But I hope you're doing well. And as a matter of fact,
I'm gonna be fake with it.
Yeah, what's so funny is, as a matter of fact, for months after that, I actually prayed for his safety and his success specifically.
That's extra, but okay.
Now you call it extra, but again, it wasn't so much for him, Now,
It was for
if
you
God
to feel
answers that
better.
prayer, whatever, then he just became the recipient. But it was from me, because you can't sincerely. Now, you can do word lip service, but you can't sincerely do that for someone and have unforgiveness and ought and resentment towards them. You can't do it. You know, and it was hard at first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was hard at first, but after a while, the more and more I did it, the more I actually wanted it for him. And I was like, I said, let him just
Talk
blow
yourself
that
into it.
Essentially, until I believed it truly in my heart where I wanted it for him. And like I said, I don't hold anything against him. You know, a friend of ours too did it. You know, it was family and did some things he shouldn't have done or whatever. Just saw him yesterday. No heart. No. I'm like, hey. For me, it's like, okay, now I know how to deal with you. That's all I take away from it. It's like, okay, now I know how to deal with you. Lesson learned. Moving on.
See that, and I think that's actually the genesis of me getting to a true point of being able to just not care about a situation. I've talked about the production team that I was on when we were doing a bunch of the TV stuff.
Right.
And the Nat Geo stuff that like I said, every once in a while I still hear some of the stuff I did that pops up that I'll never get paid for. And yes, did I not know enough about the contract at the time? Absolutely. Is that my fault? Sure. Did the person who was supposed to be my friend, who set the deal up, who had a big hand in writing the contract, know more than me and should have looked out for me? Absolutely.
Right.
Now, me, the whole forgiving them thing, that's not something I could have done. It's like, oh, dude, you knowingly, after 10, 15 years of friendship, did this. The only thing I could do was just stop caring about it, because for me, it would be almost like a pretending to have forgiven this person for something.
Right.
There's a person that's on my wife's side of the family that did something very terrible to me.
What did they do?
I'm a classical violinist.
Okay.
I had a custom handmade German violin that my mom bought me. That was the primary instrument I played on when I was still playing with the Jacksonville Symphony. This person stole that instrument from me without me knowing, after I allowed them to stay at my house.
Right.
Sold it and then left the state.
Wow.
And to this day, now I still have to interact with this person.
Did it ever come up? Do you ever confront him about
Oh,
it?
absolutely.
What did they say? Deny it still?
No. Actually ended up admitting it eventually.
Okay.
And then did the whole apology thing. I will never forgive that person for doing that. I can't. The only thing I can do is stop caring about the situation.
Now, you can't or you won't?
I can't. That's a I can't thing. Because it's
Why
one of those,
can't you?
It's one of those, because
Like, what would be the harm in it? Or what's preventing you?
That's the thing. The length that I've gone, I'm not a bad person. The length that I put my neck out for you,
Right.
and for you to take that and to be able to reverse it full 180 and go to that same length on the negative side, just shows me that you're not a kind of person that is deserving of
That's
that
what I was
type
going
of-
to say. So it's not that you can't. You
No,
won't.
that's what I can't. That's a
Here's
no.
the deal.
Johnny
So
can't.
can I just tell me if I'm off?
No, I'm saying you off right now before you even get to this nonsense.
Okay.
Because no.
Let's forget that I said not that you can't.
Okay.
Am I still off by saying you won't because they don't deserve it? So therefore, that isn't something you'll give them because they don't deserve that from you.
I am not physically capable of doing that, because if you said lip service, that's what it would be.
Right.
It would be absolute lip service.
Right.
Because in every situation, it would be, but you did this.
So let me ask you this question, and this particularly pertains to you because I know how powerful your cranium can be. If Johnny ever decided to set his mind to do it, do you think Johnny could do it?
So I have thought about that. I don't think so, because I actually did try. I gave it an actual thing, and it's one of those situations that in that time period of trying to do that, whenever I had to be around this individual, there was a huge level of resentment.
All right, another scenario.
Okay.
Y'all at the lake, he just happens to be there too. Something happens, you're in trouble. You're going down. At this point, you know it's a wrap for you. All right? Obviously. He comes in, quite literally saves your life. You're literally alive because this dude saved your life. And he's like, look, John, I know what I did before, blah, blah, blah. I really need you to forgive me. Do you think you could at that point?
So this is where I have an issue with that particular example, because people will try to tie certain situations to other ones.
Okay.
It's completely detached from me.
Okay.
I have had to remove that situation so that I can function.
Okay.
So I've been around him. I still have to. I have to be around this person a lot.
I get it.
He's around often. If something that drastic happened, that situation would in no way, shape, or form be emotionally or psychologically attached.
So
to
you
what was
want
done.
to, you'd be like, you did this. It's great. I'm totally grateful for it.
Yeah.
You're amazing for doing this.
Right.
But you're still an a-hole for selling my violin.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it's not even so much that. You got to remember, I'm not saying you're an a-hole for stealing and selling an instrument.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a cheap instrument either. So
Right.
that's another thing. That scenario is something that in the grand scheme of things does not matter. So in order for me to get over it, I have to put that in the place of it not being something of consequence.
And to you, that equates to physically, psychologically, emotionally, literally being incapable of forgiving.
Mm-hmm. For that particular scenario. Because again, I had to detach myself from it. So in order to forgive it, you have to do the whole addressing it head on.
And I think the reason why I like to dig these with you, because every once in a while you have these flashes, I should say more than flash because you show it more often than once, of being one of the more humanly capable, strong people that I know.
Okay.
And so it is hard for me to swallow whenever Johnny says, I can't do something, because you know of the school of thought that I am.
I do.
And as humans, golly, is unless the capability is literally beyond your capabilities, I just feel that once this gets locked in, it's like, but I think it's just more of like you won't.
The fact that you just said that we're humans, despite what you said earlier, and Johnny having the capacity to have a God view, Johnny is still human. So I still do have that limitation where I am limited by that. However,
when you say that, to me, being human makes things difficult. To me, and I have to make sure I'm stressing. I'm too stoned. being human can make things exponentially difficult, but not impossible.
No, absolutely. I hate our existence. Our existence sucks. The way we are just the things that we're able to imagine, and us to not have the capabilities of doing the things that we imagine. Absolutely.
I mean, think of what doggone Galileo and all them went through.
Absolutely right. I think about it all the time. Being born, too late to buy a house, but too soon to explore the galaxy kind of deal. That's been a meme that's been going around. I think about stuff like that all the time. Because I do know at some point, when I talk about emotional evolution, I feel like I'm on the right track of that. Because becoming more and more indifferent to the grand scheme of things and actually knowing what's consequential and what's not, I think is a necessity. I think hanging on to that stuff, even for the sake of addressing it so that you can be forgiving, is a flaw. That's how I view it.
Right.
Because it forces you to do something that, in my perspective, is inconsequential.
I gotta know what our listeners think on this one. Because one, we already know it's going to be two sides.
Absolutely. But it's just going to be like 14,000 people over there.
Right.
And one person like, I got that.
No, I know what he's saying. So no, you can't. I'm sorry, you can't. If you kill my mama, no, I can't forgive you. I just can't do that. I just can't do that. And I'm just
I will say this.
Can you?
When you see those courtroom videos of stuff like that happening, when the father or the mother hugs the murderer of their child,
right?
I'm not going to pretend like that kind of stuff isn't moving.
Sure. Right.
But it's difficult for me.
Oh, you just said a good point, though.
Did I?
That you said you're not going to pretend that this stuff isn't moving. I think one of the reasons why I'm able to think the way I'm thinking about things being impossible and it's more of a won't or can't is because I've removed emotion out of it.
We're doing the same thing. I mean, in order to be indifferent from it, I've removed the emotion of being attached to something that I was heavily attached to.
Right.
It's the only way for me to, in a sense, cope.
And so my question is, if it doesn't matter anyway, how can you not forgive someone if it doesn't matter anyway?
Well, that's the thing. In order to forgive something, you'd have to have something attached for something to have had happened. It needs to be a cause and effect.
Say that again.
Forgiveness is a result of an action.
Sure.
Something has to happen in order to be forgiven.
Yes.
Removing the emotion removes that action from the necessity of it needing to be forgiven. It takes that part away from it having to happen.
What's the word I'm trying to think of? Metaphorically, because if it happened, it happened.
Well, it is, but the emotional attachment to it is what dignifies or what designates whether or not it requires or is deemed to be needed.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So if that emotion's removed,
but if it's removed, then that it takes away the need for that to happen.
We're at that point of the conversation now.
Absolutely.
And
I'm gonna be honest. This is one of those things that I may not. My linguistics may not be eloquent enough to explain
Possibly.
how I feel about it.
Or my understanding may be lacking.
Or
in interpretation.
There are definitely some of my concepts that I feel more than I can express.
Right.
And I mean, I feel like I explain things relatively well most of the time. But this is one of those things that explaining the removal of emotion to not require a response is something that's difficult for me to verbalize because it will require someone to have an emotional basis to be able to relate to it.
Yeah.
For me to explain it properly.
I get it. As long as people know that if you do it my way, there's a whole lot of healing waiting for you.
And if you do it my way, there's no need to heal.
There's no
need to heal. Let's skip that step.
At least it appears to be no need to heal.
How you feel about Bill Cosby anyway? You gonna go see a show? Are you gonna buy a ticket?
So
that's what I want to know.
I might be an unfair person to ask.
Okay. Bias because of the friend situation, or
partially, like the high. Well, no, and not a lot of people are going to be like, Stone, that shouldn't matter. And I don't want to.
I'm sorry, I don't want to sound insensitive by saying bias because of your friend situation, but I'm just
right. So, do I feel what he did was wrong? Yes. If in fact that's what he got. Here's my thing. I don't really doubt that he did it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Only just because of the practice back then, and so I don't doubt it. Was it wrong? Yes. If it happened one time, I'd be like, you know what, he effed up one time, boom. But obviously all these women are coming out, sure. And so that's different. There's a mistake, and there's a bad judgment, and then there's a practice,
and then there's habit.
Right. So that totally disagree with. I'll never stand on the same side of the line with him where that's concerned. He did his time. Yes, he did his time. Would I go to a show? I would go to a show, but I'll probably go by myself unless you went, because I don't know too many people in my circle that would go. Now, Stone, why would you go to a show? One, I've always been a big Bill Cosby fan, and quite literally, part of my scholarship in high school was from him. And that high school changed my life.
So it's separating the art from the person's actions.
It is separating the art from the person's actions. And then again, if I'm going to be truly righteous
and Christ-like,
I can run down a whole list of, not indiscretions, that sounds too dark, but a whole list of bad judgments.
Indiscretion,
I guess
works.
It's indiscretion. Well,
yeah.
Well, a whole list of bad judgments.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And who's to say one's worse than the other? Depends on who gets hurt or who's involved, right? So, I mean, I can think of one or two girlfriends today who probably thinks I should be down there having dinner with Satan himself. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was for them.
Yeah.
And who's to say that wasn't? Who knows if they're even still affected to this day?
Could be.
So if I look at it from those glasses, then my response is, who am I to judge? But if justice chose what justice is going to do and he served that justice, then he's done. You know what I mean? I don't hold it over his head. Unfortunately, I have a family member. We're going through that right now, too. Something very egregious. Did his time, did 17 years. And only because I know him personally, it really is a whole slew of things that caused him to go down that road. Not making excuses, because he still knew right from wrong. But to this day, he knows it. To this day, he's remorseful. Came out, new life, new man, all this stuff. But the justice system still just wants to hold on to him.
Right.
So, and like I said, there isn't a person listening to me. If you get off of your high horse, you don't understand what I'm saying. So back to your thing, would I buy a ticket? I mean, I probably would. If it wasn't anything out of my way, nothing like that. It was just easily there.
Don't come out here with $1,000 ticket now.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I ain't gonna travel another city to see him and all this kind of stuff. But if it happened, I probably would. And if I didn't, it wouldn't be for any kind of a stance. It's just because I don't feel like going to see him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm supporting what he did. That's the part where society has to get that stuff. It doesn't mean I'm supporting what he did. Clearly, I'm not. Yeah. And like I said, and I know I have look, quite honestly, if you voted for half of these presidents and politicians, you can't speak.
True.
At the end, I mean, sorry, you just
supported what they did.
You can't speak. So you're not even a part of the argument.
I think my approach to anything like this allows me to function in our world a little bit easier because I don't connect a person's actions with a person's output.
Right.
I've obviously been just like you. I've got some people that still think I'm the most evil person in the world, and I can look back to the moment why they think that. I've gotten to a point now where I can look at it from their perspective and understand why they think and feel that way. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but you shouldn't,
right?
Because of the detachment from the whole thing. And I think more and more of us are going to get get like that because this method of going back to needing to victimize or needing to be victimized so that you can point the finger so that that cycle can continue, that's going to get exhausting eventually. And we're going to eventually have to grow past that because we're going to just burn out from it. We're either going to become the most depressed society in the world, which we're on our way to doing it. Yeah. But a lot of times before you hit that rock bottom, there's a revelation.
Well, to me, and you're not going to like this, I think a lot of that has a problem with the whole living your own truth crap because we bend what happens in real life to what goes to our truth. And with 16 billion people or 8 billion people on this earth,
which earth you on?
Right. You got 8 billion truths.
Yes.
So absolutely. How the hell in the world, how do you think everything's going to coincide? Yeah, there's going to be a greater thing that matches. This dude, I forgot who he is. You can look him up. You can Google him. It's a white guy. And he officially put out that he is identifying as a woman of color.
Oh, I saw that. That was funny.
Right. And of course, needless to say, the whole LGBTQ,
you cannot judge me.
Yeah, the whole LGBTQ, QRSTV community is like going at him. Like it's hurtful, it's disrespectful, and da-da-da. And look, I get it. Like if the guy was like, well, who are you to tell me that I'm not being serious? Who are you to tell me that I'm mocking? You don't get the right to do that. Right. I mean, literally just threw their words right back on them because that's the first thing they would say to you. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And honestly, it was a mic drop moment for me.
No, I actually love I love the exercise too because that goes to the whole disconnecting from the emotional aspect of it. Right. Exist how you want to exist and let that be it. Right. Don't feel the need for anyone else to co-op it or agree with you, co-sign it or any of that stuff with you. Just be you. Do your thing. And
obviously that probably was his biggest point. Out of the ridiculousness of it of how you can just now literally we're on a society we're getting where you can just identify as whatever the heck you want. Yeah. And all it needs to do is fit a big enough group or agenda. That's all it has to do is fit and agree with it, and it's official.
And that's it.
If it doesn't, if enough people don't agree with it, then now you're canceled. Now you're offensive, and da 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 da. But if you decide that you want to marry a dog, and there are enough people who feel they should marry their dog, Tasha's probably this close. I'm sorry, I'm just saying.
So that's a whole different conversation. But when you get down to the whole everything has a spirit energy and everything vibrates, once we get past the meat suit thing, then everything will be fair
more cohesive. At some point. Exactly. But
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying.
No, we're agreeing because what's funny is once you get past the whole meat suit thing, half of this stuff's going to go away.
That's very true.
Anyway.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you know how I feel about the whole label thing. We're not going to get back into that conversation.
100%. But that's where I'm trying to be on the path of is detaching so much from. And again, this is my reality. View. Exactly. This is my reality. This is the reality that it is. Yeah. But I do have a vision of what I think it's going to go to. Yeah. The whole. I told my sister the other day. I was about to tell you this a second. It might be too far past, but I want to say it anyway because I think it's hilarious. Ooh. There have been things that the only thing I've ever wanted to do is travel. That's all I've ever wanted to do in the world, whether it was for work, whatever. That's all I want to do. Due to having a family, I'm limited on that because I can't just get up and go because my son's got to go to school. So I'm handcuffed.
Darn school.
Because the fact that I'm legally required to have him in school makes it difficult for me to travel like I want to. So I told my sister,
makes it difficult not to regret having.
I didn't say that.
I was saying it for you.
But I told my sister, I was like, yeah, I'm trans travel because I can't do nothing.
I'm trans travel.
And then she sent me a meme of this lady was at work and her boss said, I haven't seen you in here. She was like, oh yeah, I'm transparent.
Yeah.
My pronouns are who and where. I loved it for the simple fact that it's making light of something that we're making such a big deal out of. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm mocking anybody's feelings about it because somebody make me feel like I need to apologize.
That's a good point.
I don't want that to be the case. However,
I'm not and that's a good point because I find myself in that trap a lot. So I'm gonna go on the record. I'm not mocking your feelings about it, but I am mocking the thing.
No, sure.
Please believe that. Yeah. So when I say something is stupid and ridiculous, I'm not calling you stupid or ridiculous. I'm calling the thing stupid and ridiculous. And now, do I think you stupid and ridiculous for following it? That's just my thought. But you have your thoughts that you can think. You can think I'm an a-hole and I can think you're stupid and ridiculous. But I'm not mocking your feelings. I still respect your feelings because those feelings are real for you. So now I've set that straight once and for all. I need to 100%. Save that clip because that clip will probably have to go out twice a day.
Run it once a week.
Yeah. Because someone's always coming at me with that, well, that's not, Stone, I'm surprised at you. Stone, I thought you were bigger than this. Man, get off my timeline.
But see, that's the thing though. Now you've transgressed this person, and they want an apology, and they need to forget, and it creates this ridiculous cycle of stuff.
Not with me.
Don't be emotionally attached to anything.
I'm like, hey, 1 + 2 is 5. You're right.
Right on.
Enjoy.
Exactly. Damn, what makes sense. Let's do it your way.
Man, we appreciate y'all. Y'all got to comment on this one. Like, for real, I really need to know what y'all think. But yo, as always, you can always follow us at lifeonpodcast.com. We're going to give our love shout out today for the podcast The God Show.
I don't know this one.
That's THEGAUD show. Okay. And it stands for I forget, but it has something to do with underrated.
Oh, it's an acronym.
Yeah, it's an acronym. Okay. But anyway, it's my man Ray Daniels.
Oh, Ray Daniels.
So Ray Daniels, and he has a couple of guests on there. So if you guys don't know about them already,
I don't think I knew he had a podcast.
Yeah, so he has a podcast. It's called The God Show. THEGAUD Very insightful. A lot of it is music industry based. But but Ray's a smart guy, so definitely show them some love, follow them, and all that kind of stuff. As far as me personally, you can check everything out Stone Stafford at, guess where? StoneStafford.com.
Just Johnny Vaughn, JUSTJONYVAN on your stuff.
All right, we appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. 1 million subscribers again in 2023. We love y'all. We out. Peace.
Holla.
So back to what I was saying. What I was saying.